Good afternoon, Ms. Bridgewater.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you?
Doing well. I hope you are too.
I am. It's kind of strange seeing you on a Thursday.
I know, right?
But nonetheless, it's good to see you.
You as well. The SAP reset date.
We moved up to the 7th, November the 7th.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Judge,
Yes, Mr.
uh,
Howard.
give me about 5 minutes. You could defer to the state till I get back. They just put a history in here. I gotta go through it real quick.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. And whenever you're ready for me, courtroom two, let me know.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
We'll go with position number 7, Ms. Goddard.
Hey, let me address everyone. First, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we are providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. Good afternoon, Ms. Goddard. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007233B with public drunk, willful obstruction of law enforcement officers, and criminal trespass. Good afternoon, Ms. McConkey. Do you have the history for me?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. Good afternoon. I have that this is Ms. Goddard's first arrest. This incident occurred at 1201 Grovehurst Drive in Johns Creek. The defendant is accused of being drunk outside the apartment complex. She did admit to officers that she had had about 3 bottles of wine in the past few hours. At one point, she was passed out on the sidewalk of the apartment complex. When she woke up, she returned to the apartment of Ryan Moon after she was already told not to come back. When Ms. Moon wouldn't let her in, she began to yell and curse at residents while she was outside, causing a scene in the complex. When officers tried to detain her, she did resist arrest. Given the fact that this is the defendant's first arrest, the state would recommend a signature bond, stay away from that incident location, no further contact with Ms. Moon, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. She might want to refrain from alcohol for some time. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Ryan Moon.
Ms. Moon is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Good afternoon, Mr. Cook. Is this your case?
Judge, let me chime in real quick. All right, this is her third arrest, 2021 DUI, 2019 DUI conviction. She's a resident of South Carolina. That's all.
Okay, so my GCIC report was incorrect, Your Honor. It does seem like she has some issues with alcohol, so maybe some AA meetings or an ADET.
What was the amount of the bond recommendation? I'm sorry.
I had initially recommended a signature bond.
Okay. Your Honor, given we would have no objection to signature bond. We understand the record on the DUI. If there's AA meetings required, that would be fine as well. The circumstances are a little bit confusing here from my client standpoint. She did apparently this was a sobriety residence, and she had some possessions and a pet still there, and she went to retrieve them. So I think they're still at the location. Nothing further.
Okay. For the public drunk, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the obstruction, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the criminal trespass, a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Moon. Stay away from the Grovehurst Drive residence. or location. She can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that she might have there. One AA meeting per week. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Goddard.
That's per judge. She's not a resident.
Well, actually, she does have a, just it listed as Aiken, South Carolina. I apologize, I got on a little late. She's living at 1201 Grovehurst Drive, Johns Creek, 30002. Is that correct, Ms. Goddard?
Yeah, that's the incident location.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Um,
Oh, that's my address.
Is that a sober living facility?
Sober living facility. I've had a year sober and I just had a relapse. So this is what it was
Okay.
like. And I still have things at that location.
And are you welcome back at that location at the present time, Ms. Goddard?
I feel like I will be, yeah,
Say it again.
sir. Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. No? Okay. All
Oh,
right.
yes, sir. I'm saying yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, Ms. Goddard. I don't want to, I want you to continue to get treatment. So if they will have you back at that facility, I'm not going to restrict you from going there. Okay, so I'll have you have I don't know who the alleged victim is. It's Miss Moon, but you can't have contact with her. But I'm not going to keep you from the sober living environment. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Your Honor, can you go through your announcements again? We just got another group that just entered the book.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services. Who do we have next?
Petition number 19, Ms. Torres.
Good afternoon.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I've been told this will require the services of a Spanish interpreter.
Hello,
Okay.
Your Honor. I'm present.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank
Good afternoon. Have you already had the opportunity to interview her, Mr. McLean?
I think the interview, even without the interpreter, went pretty well. So it may be the interpreter's only necessary for superior understanding of the court proceeding itself. We could ask the defendant if she agrees with that concept.
Okay, well, let's just utilize the interpreter. I'm not really understanding what you asked of me, but if you raise your right hand, Madam Interpreter, do you swear or affirm that you will translate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English to the best of your ability?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Torres Alves. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007237C with theft by shoplifting, criminal trespass, and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers.
Buenas tardes, señora Torres Alves. A usted se le está imputando los siguientes delitos. El número de caso 24 CR 007237C del delito de hurto en tiendas, invadir una propiedad privada y obstrucción intencional de agentes del orden público.
Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
¿Hay antecedentes penales, señor Howard?
I got kicked off, so I'm back on. Who is this?
Position number 19, Ms. Torres.
Second arrest.
Es
Was
su segundo arresto.
just arrested last month in Dunwoody for 2 counts of shoplifting.
Apenas fue arrestado el mes pasado en la ciudad de Dunway por 2 cargos de hurto en tiendas.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. This is an incident that occurred on October the 23rd.
Buenas tardes, licenciada Allen. Sí, buenas tardes, tu señoría. Es un incidente que ocurrió el 23 de octubre.
The Sephora store at 3393 Peachtree Road, that's Lenox Mall, is where this occurred.
Ocurrió en la tienda Sephora en el 3393 de la Peachtree Road en el mall de Lenox.
The defendant was seen taking items and passing all points of sale without paying for them.
A la señora acusada la vieron tomar artículos de mercancía y pasó todos los puntos de venta, los cajeros.
She took 3 different items, makeup and perfume, total value of $217.80.
Ella tomó 3 artículos de mercancía, maquillaje y perfume con un valor total de $217.80.
Employees went to stop her after she left the location through the points of sale.
Los empleados fue a detenerla una vez que ella había pasado todos los cajeros.
When police arrived, Officer Porter was given information about a ban that had been put in place in September of 2024.
Cuando llegó el agente Porter, le informaron que le habían prohibido regresar al lugar en septiembre. If the interpreter may ask one moment, is that September of 2023?
24.
En el mes de septiembre de 2024. Thank you.
That coincides with her first arrest for shoplifting at Perimeter Mall, also at the Sephora, where she signed off on a document banning her from all Sephora locations.
Esto coincide con su primer arresto en el mall de Perimeter, también en una tienda de Sephora, donde ella tuvo que firmar un documento haciendo constar que se le prohibía regresar a todas las tiendas Sephora.
That's the basis of the criminal trespass charge, Your Honor. And then when Officer Porter went to detain her and arrest her, this young woman fled on foot and had to be grabbed and put into custody.
En eso se basa el cargo de invadir una propiedad privada, su señoría. Cuando el agente Porter fue a detenerla, ella se mandó a la fuga y la tuvieron que agarrar para detenerla.
Based on the fact that she's currently on bond for shoplifting and is banned from all Sephora locations, but went back to the same store and was caught stealing, we're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor. Stay away from Lenox Mall. That's 3393 Peachtree Road. Stay away from all Sephora locations and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Basándonos en el hecho de que ella estaba en libertad bajo fianza y también se lo tenía prohibido regresar a las tiendas Sephora, estamos proponiendo una fianza de caución de $2,000, que no vaya más al Mall Lenox, que está ubicado en el 3393 de la Peachtree Road, y que se mantenga alejada de todas las ubicaciones de las tiendas Sephora, nada de consumo de alcohol y droga, y nada de tenencia de armas.
Mr. McLean?
Licenciado McLean.
Your Honor, my client is young and she works in customer service satisfaction.
Su señoría, mi cliente es joven y ella trabaja en servicios al cliente.
She has done so for 3 years for a company called Aprecio.
Ella lo ha hecho por 3 años en una compañía que se llama Precio.
And the customer service satisfaction is related to HR, human resource benefits.
Y su trabajo en servicios al cliente está relacionado con el Departamento de Recursos Humanos.
Her local contacts mainly have to do with her boyfriend, whose phone number I have.
Sus contactos locales básicamente son de su novio y yo tengo su número de teléfono.
Other than that, I'm not claiming a lot of local contacts, but she does have I hope, sufficient local contacts for the level and nature of this proceeding.
Aparte de eso, yo no puedo afirmar muchos contactos legales, pero ojalá tenga suficientes para la naturaleza de este proceso judicial
And for the idea of her coming back to our court.
y para que ella vuelva a nuestro tribunal.
We understand the charges and we have discussed them.
Entendemos los cargos y hemos hablado sobre ellos.
I would offer to the court the concept of counseling would be useful if the court could even lean towards a signature bond in a situation like this.
Yo le propongo a usted, su señoría, que tal vez considere una terapia para la señora acusada si usted está inclinada a darle una fianza bajo palabra.
Technically, she might not be eligible for a signature bond, but if there is a reason given for departure, I think this would be a case where we could do that.
Técnicamente, posiblemente no cumple ella los requisitos para una fianza bajo palabra, pero sí podríamos desviar del proceso normal. En este caso, eso es lo que yo recomendaría.
So that's why I'm mentioning the commitment to get some counseling done.
Por eso le menciono que ella se comprometa a hacer terapias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Entonces, para cada cargo le pongo una fianza de $1,000 a través de los servicios previo al juicio, nivel 1. Entonces será un total de $3,000 de fianza a través de servicios previo al juicio, nivel 1.
Away from Lenox Mall and all Sephora locations.
Que no vaya más al Lenox Mall y se mantenga alejada de todas las tiendas de Sephora.
A theft class and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Una clase anti-hurtos y nada de consumo de alcohol, droga ni tenencia de armas mientras esté en libertad bajo fianza.
It's per judge.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, the interpreter did not hear. What did you say, Mr. Howard?
Oh, I said this is per judge.
Mr. Howard doesn't want to take responsibility for the pretrial as such. It's per me, so per the judge. Okay.
Según lo que dispone el señor juez, el señor Howard no se quiere hacer responsable, entonces esa será la decisión del señor juez.
Well, she got an open case, so that's why it's per judge. She was just arrested last month. So.
Es que ella tiene un caso abierto, apenas el mes pasado la arrestaron, entonces por eso digo que sería la decisión del juez.
And as I've mentioned before, all of these are per judge, so thank you. Good luck to you, Ms. Torres.
Entonces, como mencioné, todas las sesiones son de mi incumbencia, así que buena suerte, señora.
He has a question, Mr. McLean?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta, licenciado McLean?
I can be available by phone or after court's over with, I can come to the jail to answer any questions she has.
Puedo estar disponible por teléfono o cuando se termine la audiencia puedo pasar a la cárcel a contestar cualquier pregunta que tenga.
The jail staff can provide her with my email, which is mike.mclean@the-usual.
Los de la cárcel le pueden dar mi correo electrónico, que es mike.mclean y termina en la terminación usual.
Okay. All right. Do we need Madam Interpreter for any other cases today?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Ramirez is on the calendar. He was en route from Alpharetta when I attempted to interview him by phone, and the jail staff of Alpharetta predicted that he would need Spanish interpretation.
Okay. All right. So, Madam Interpreter, if you don't mind holding on for us, we'd appreciate it.
Certainly, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Next, we have position number 14, Mr. Stevens.
Let's see. Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stevens. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007242A with simple battery family violence. Is there a history?
20 total, 2016 ag assault, family violence conviction. 2011 battery obstruction conviction.
Yes, Miss Allen.
I apologize. This is my case. This is an incident from December of last year, December 1, 2023. There's been a warrant out for the arrest of Mr. Stevens for a period of time. Police were called on that date to 1041 Martin Street, Southeast, apartment B93. There they spoke with the victim. Her name is Verdell Floyd. That's Verdell. She reported that she and the defendant have been together for about 12 years, and that during an argument over him taking money out of her wallet, he jumped on her, and she reported that that meant he struck her on the left side of her head.
That's what I'm here for now.
The defendant was not on the scene at that point, and an arrest warrant was taken out for him. He has a 2016 aggravated assault conviction that is family violence and multiple battery family violence convictions, including one based on prior criminal history. There was no visible injury in this case, so this is not a battery, Your Honor. We have attempted to get in touch with Mrs. Floyd today, but have not been successful at this point. Based on the 5 prior family violence convictions since 2010. We're asking for a $2,000 surety, no contact with Ms. Floyd, stay away from wherever she may reside, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Your Honor, my client is, I believe, 54 years old and has worked as a cook at the old Pascals, and worked for Morris Brown as a groundskeeper, the college before that. He is associated with the caregiving of Emmaus House and is using Emmaus House's good offices to apply for disability at this time. He has a phone number, a stable address, I believe. I think his mother is at Hairston Place. So if Your Honor felt that there was a need to stay away from a location, he has a place to stay with family, and that indicates some stability there too. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond or as low a bond as possible.
Okay, it'll be a $500 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Floyd. Stay away from Ms. Floyd's residential address, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. If Ms. Verdell Floyd is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Stevens.
Next, we have position number 5, and Mr. Franklin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Franklin. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007229E with battery and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
2022 crew 10 and 3rd trespass that was dismissed. 2021 battery DV cruelty conviction. That's it.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This battery will be amended to a battery family violence. That 2021 battery family violence that pretrial mention was against the same victim, in this case, Ms. Stephanie Streeter. This incident occurred at 3215 Cushman Circle Southwest in Atlanta. That is the Chastain Pine Apartments. The defendant is accused of poking or striking the victim several times with a large walking stick that belonged to her. Officers noted that the victim, Ms. Streeter, had abrasions on her body as well as a hole in her shirt. When officers tried to detain the defendant, he resisted arrest. Given the fact that this defendant already has a battery family violence conviction against the same victim, the state's recommendation would be for a $5,000 surety bond on the battery, a $1,000 surety bond on the willful obstruction, stay away from that incident location, no further contact with the victim, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. It looks like that 2021 conviction was NOLO, which is why we didn't upgrade this to a felony.
Stephanie Streeter is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 41 years old. He works in construction, although that's off and on employment. His income is very modest. I don't believe, well, they do share a 12-year-old child. I don't think Ms. Streeter is still at that address, although I'm not absolutely certain of that. We would ask for we realize the signature bond is probably out of the question. We would ask for a surety bond of a significantly lower amount. And if he could verify with the law enforcement officer that she is no longer living there, we would like him to be able to return.
For the battery, it'll be a $1,000 good bond. For the obstruction, a $500 good bond, makes for a total of a $1,500 good bonds. No further contact with Ms. Streeter. He can go back to the Cushman's circle address on one occasion with law enforcement. If Ms. Streeter does not reside there, he can stay there. If she does, he will have to gather his belongings and find somewhere else to stay. Third-party transfer of any minor children, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you.
We have next.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. We have position number 8, Mr. Jackson.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007247F with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Fourth arrest. Got an open battery DV in state court. 23 CR 002516F. 2022. Theft by taking dismissed.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I think we have the wrong person sitting down.
Okay.
You have position number 8, Mr. Arnold Jackson. Is that?
Ladarius.
Ladarius is on the calendar.
Yeah, Arnold Jackson was a felony transfer.
Hold on. All right, we'll do Ladarius. This is Ladarius right here.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007247F with theft by shoplifting. Is that the same history, Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on Christmas Day of last year. The incident location is the Georgia World Beverage, located at 8455 Sonoya Road in Fairborn. The defendant is accused of stealing 2 bottles of Don Julio tequila and 1 bottle of Casamigos tequila from the incident location. Given the fact that he has an open case, the state's recommendation is for a $500 surety bond. Stay away from that incident location. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Cook?
That'll be mine, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. McClellan.
Your Honor, the main point in which I would ask for a signature bond is this case happened on Christmas Day of the year 2022. It was 3 bottles of tequila. There are better ways to celebrate Christmas, of course. I see, basically, I interviewed him and asked about his arrest history, so I have a fairly good understanding of that. The items here totaled $168 and some cents. And mainly because it was 2 years ago and because he does have a good address on Godby Road, and I've got the apartment number, which I believe, while I'm not looking, I think we got some computer problems. I'm not looking at the 3 card right now. He does work, Your Honor, self-employed in renovation. He's all over the Atlanta metro area, mostly on the east side, not so much down on Sonoya Road in Fairburn, and certainly can stay away from the location. And I think he's got good mail service. I've got his phone number, relative's phone number. He should be court. Because it was 2 years ago, I would ask the court to consider a signature bond.
Okay, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Georgia Well beverage location. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next we have position number 10, Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon, Mr. Miller. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007243F with loitering and prowling, theft by taking, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. So your history, Mr. Howard?
Last arrest was in June. Trespass, interference with government property. That's open in Superior Court. 24 PI 004418. I think the booking sheet stated he was homeless.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. There are 3 charges in this case. The first one is from October the 19th. It's alleged that on that date at 247 4th Street, which is Georgia Tech campus location, it is the student work area. The defendant took food items from the desks of 2 different students while they had their things there working. He was identified by police using CCTV footage, and the fact that he showed up again on the 22nd of October at the same location, 247 4th Street, where he was at 9:30 p.m. loitering and wandering around the same location, where he is not a student, had been seen there and identified as someone taking items from students' locations, and had no reason to be at the location. He was arrested for loitering and prowling. He refused to provide his information or follow the directives of law enforcement. That's Officer Marshall of Georgia Tech. And those are the 3 counts he's in front of the court on today. I would note he is out on bond for a felony level, similar kind of incident. We'd ask for $1,000 surety, Your Honor, and stay away from that location, 247 4th Street Northwest, and any other Georgia Tech facilities, unless he's got business there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 27 years old. He is homeless, and she's moving around from shelter to shelter when he can find one he believes is safe. In light of the felony issue, I'm not sure a signature bond would be in order. We would certainly ask for one if possible. He has no employment, no income, no savings. If not, we would certainly seek the lowest possible surety bond the court would consider.
For the loitering and prowling, it'll be a $250 good bond. The theft, a $250 good bond. The obstruction, a $500 good bond. Makes for a total of a $1,000 good bond. Stay away from 247 4th Street and the Georgia Tech campus unless he has official business there. I'd like him to have a social worker visit to assist with any housing issues, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to you, Mr. Miller.
Next, we have position number 16, Mr. Stevenson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stevenson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007239C with 2 counts of battery, family violence, and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. To your history, Mr. Howard.
Fourth arrest, 2020 trespass obstruction conviction, 2019 trespass conviction, 2018 theft by receiving, loitering, prowling, first offender.
Alan.
Your Honor, excuse me, this case has 4. There are 4 cases for Mr. Stevenson on this calendar.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Well, are they? Yes. Also, Mr. Stevens, position 17, you've been charged with at 24 CR 007240C with a battery, family violence, and a simple battery, family violence. In case 24 CR 007241C, you've been charged with 2 counts of battery, family violence. Thank you, Ms. Bridgewater. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. The 4 cases on the calendar in front of you today are for multiple events, outstanding warrants that have been in place since March of last year. The first case on the docket is from March the 17th of 2023. Police responded and spoke to Mrs. Adaya Bowers, Adaya. She was seen to have a black eye, bloody busted lip, and scratches to her face. She reported that the defendant, the individual that she lives with, struck her multiple times in the face, causing these injuries. A warrant was issued for this gentleman. All of these incidents has happened at the same location, Your Honor. Just give me a second. I'll make sure that's correct on the record. That is position number 15, I believe. Yes. Position number 16 was an incident in May of 2023 on the 9th. Again, police were contacted actually on the 10th by Mrs. Bowers, who reported that the day before she'd been assaulted by the same gentleman who she shares a child with, or she has small children with, and they live together. She had a busted bottom lip, a cut below her right eye, as well as on her chin. She reported that he showed up at her location unannounced. They argued, and when she asked him to leave, he punched her in the face repeatedly. And when she grabbed her child and ran to the bedroom to call for help, he fled the location. Her 6-year-old child, initials KB, was present for that incident. Again, warrants were obtained. And the third case, position number 17, Your Honor, is from January of this year. On the 2nd, the same victim reported that during an argument, the defendant shoved her to the ground, put his hands around her neck because he came over to the house and was demanding back the cell phone he'd gotten for her. He took that phone and was out in the hallway. She followed him out in the hallway. And her children came out into the hallway at that point and witnessed this incident. He got off of her on where she was on the floor at that point. And the police report indicates that he threatened to shoot her with a firearm. He did run when he was seen by police. Police observed him at the location and observed him flee. Surveillance showed the defendant at the location. He was identified and another warrant was obtained for his arrest. The victim had a small cut to her neck, and it's reported that he shoved her down on the ground before he grabbed her by the neck. She also provided a written statement as part of that investigation. The final report, Your Honor, is from this June the 4th, and that's position 18. Police were called again by Mrs. Bowers, who reported that she was at home and she'd been putting her children in the car when the defendant came outside and reached into the car and turned it off. He was upset and she wasn't sure why. She turned the car back on and tried to leave. He again turned the car off and took her keys from her and left out of the car. She went after him to try to get her keys, and that's when he struck her on top of her head. She was seen to have a bleeding laceration on top of her head when police met with her. She says she went inside the house at that point, and the defendant fled after EMS came. When EMS arrived, the defendant actually told EMS that the victim had slipped and fallen and hit her head, and that's how she'd been injured. But while she was being treated by EMS, he left. He was no longer there when police arrived. Security footage of the incident shows the victim enter her vehicle, the defendant get in through the passenger side door. She tries to drive off. He then is in the vehicle again, then gets out, and she follows him, and there's an altercation. At that point, Your Honor, for the June the 6th, 2024, she was seen to have a scratch on her forehead, bruising on her neck, as well as this bloody laceration on her face that she received treatment for. He was seen on surveillance striking her multiple times. We have been in touch with Mrs. Bowers, Your Honor, and I believe that the defendant had a felony on first appearance as well today related to a firearm that is not associated with this young woman. We spoke to Mrs. Bowers. He has also been calling her from the jail, so I'm sure that they've spoken about this as well. But when we spoke to her today, she reported that they no longer live together and they share no children. She confirmed that the incident location for all of these is her residence. She also confirmed all the incidences in all of these warrants, but says the defendant never put his hands around her neck in January. She says they've been in contact since June and that there's been no violence. And honestly, the state has to just contend that that can't possibly be true. You have 4 separate cases from a 2-year period that are documented with evidence despite any statement by a victim today about what happened or didn't happen. I just mentioned on the record photographs, body-worn camera, surveillance, admissions. And at this point, Your Honor, we'd be asking for each case $2,000 surety. No contact with Mrs. Bowers, to stay away from the location where she currently lives, including staying away from her children, who shouldn't have to be victims of this and witnesses to this. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And if you sound from Ms. Bowers, we'd appreciate it.
Just so I clarify, Ms. Allen, you're
Yes.
asking for, you said 2,000 surety?
On each of the 4 cases. So
Okay,
that would be a
that's what-
total of 8. And the defendant is a felony, a convicted felon. He has mostly theft convictions. Starting in 2018, he had a first offender conviction. He then received a conviction in 2019. He was stealing cars, it looks like. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bowers, I see you there. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. If you would like to do so, you have to unmute yourself. There you go. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
When I spoke with someone earlier, I corrected a lot of the stuff that was said that happened. Like, he didn't strangle me, and the black eye that I had was from previous and wasn't even from him. I don't have kids with him, so that was incorrect. We don't share any children together, and yeah, just some of the stuff that that I already spoke to the lady about earlier, that I told her that I actually corrected, and she told me that you were going to say my corrections, because he never strangled me, and I didn't have a laceration that had to be treated on my face. If you could see my face right now, I don't have any marks, so I did not have a laceration on my face that had to be treated. So I don't know where that came from. I didn't have any kind of laceration that had to be treated on my face. I had a scratch, but it wasn't like from EMS. EMS didn't have to see me for the scratch. It was just like.
Okay, so let me just clarify then. So back in January, March of 2023, you called the police, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes or yes?
Yes.
And why did you call the police?
I called the police because we had got into it. I was about to go to work, and
What's that? What's got into it mean?
like we were arguing, and I was about to go to work. And he came to the car. We was walking out to the car because he drops me off to work. So we were walking out to the car, and we were still arguing about it. It was like another situation. Like, he tried to take the keys out the car, and I was trying to pull off, but he didn't hit me several times in my face.
But you called,
I
but my
have
question was,
braces. I have
you called,
braces, so he hit me my lip. He didn't hit me with a closed fist. My lip busted my lip because my braces was stuck to my lip. He didn't hit me several times in my face.
okay, but whatever happened, you had to call the police. Is that right?
Yeah, I was calling the police so I could leave and go to work just to diffuse the situation. That's all.
Okay, so then back on the next one in May of 2023, you had to call the police again. Why'd you call the police that time?
May 2023. Can you jog my memory? I don't recall. It was last year.
Okay, well, no, I can't. Then you called the police again in January of 2024. Why'd you call the police that time?
I called the police in January 20. I'm sorry, I don't recall. Like, I'm not remembering these incidents. I need you to sum it up for me or something.
Okay, but you have called the police on
Yes,
Mr.
I have
Stevenson
called
on
the
numerous
police.
occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, just briefly, the incident location for all of these is 1093 West Avenue Southwest. The state is clear that the small children in this young woman's home are not this defendant's children, but they have had to witness multiple instances of violence. And I did just review, he has a $5,000 good bond for his theft of a firearm in felony court. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is, I believe, 25 years old. He has a Mayland Avenue address, of course, which is separate from West Avenue. And so they definitely don't live together. He works for DHL Discount Tires in Fairburn. It's a place off Oakley Industrial Boulevard. He's worked there for a year and a half. Before that, for several months, for about 4 months, he worked for the Postal Service. And before that, he worked for a year at the airport at a place called New Rest. And I believe he was doing, what do they call it? Back room, stuff in the back of the kitchen and services like that. I don't think he was a waiter. I understand what his priors were. Being 25, I asked him about, what have you had in the way of arrests since you were 17? So that 8-year period of time. And I understand what his arrest record looks like. And I'm hearing the alleged victim in this case. So we would ask the court to consider a signature bond. If the court is not leaning towards a signature bond, we would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible on the surety side. They have several factors where he should be able to stay away from her entirely. There should be no contact, and it looks like he will. I don't think there's anything about him ducking court. I think the cases do have a little bit of age on him, not much, but he should be able to be in court and be punctual. Thank you.
Okay, so for position number 15, for each battery family violence, it's going to be $1,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. Stay away from Ms. Bowers. No further contact with Ms. Bowers. Stay away from the 1093 West Avenue address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while on bond. For position number 16, it will be a $2,000 good bond for each battery family violence. $1,000 good bond for the cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, makes for a total of a $5,000 good bond. Stay away from Ms. Bowers. Stay away from the residence. No further contact with Ms. Bowers. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Position number 17 for the battery family violence, it'll be a $2,000 good bond. For the simple battery, a $1,000 good bond. Makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. No further contact, stay away as well. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. For position number 18, for each battery family violence, it'll be a $2,000 good bond. Makes for a total of a $4,000 good bond. Stay away and no further contact. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. And for the both of you, no contact means absolutely no contact. If this court finds out that you are in contact, I will revoke these bonds. So that's no phone contact, no personal contact, no internet contact, no email contact, no contact whatsoever until these matters are resolved. Good luck to you both. I
I'm
see we
sorry.
have some,
I'm
yes,
sorry. I was gonna say, can you go over those, bond amounts again?
okay. 15, it's gonna be a $2,000 good bond total. 16, a $5,000 good bond total. 17, a $3,000 good bond total. And 18, a $4,000 good bond total. Do you need me to, did you need for me to break them down?
Well, you're going by numbers. All I have here is just, like what happened.
Oh, you don't have the calendar?
Yeah, but it doesn't have the numbers on it like you have it.
Okay, so position number 15, case number 24 CR 007238C. $1,000 good bond per charge makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. Got that one?
Yep,
Okay, case number 1624 CR 007239C. For each of the battery family violence will be a $2,000 good bond. For the cruelty will be a $1,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $5,000 good bond.
that's that.
You got that one?
Yep.
Okay, 17, case 24 CR 007240C. For the battery, it's family violence, it's a $2,000 good bond. For the simple battery, it's a $1,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. We've got that one.
Yes.
Okay, and for 1824 CR 007241C. For each of the battery family violence will be a $2,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $4,000 good bond.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, good. Thank you.
All right.
We have the Spanish interpreter case here in courtroom 1. We want to do a breakout.
Okay, so who needs to go into the breakout with courtroom number 1? Is this your case, Mr. McLean?
The breakout is whom? Ramirez?
Is that Ramirez in courtroom 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ready?
Okay.
Do
All
the
right,
break.
all right, so if we can place Mr. McLean, Madam Interpreter, and courtroom 1 into a breakout room. Do we have any of Mr. Cook's cases that or Miss, I think I saw, or anyone else's cases? I see Miss McLeod on the line, so we can do
Yes,
Mr.
we have several months still left, Your Honor.
Okay,
Judge, I have Michael Conley. I don't know. I was told he was on this calendar for a first appearance.
okay, good afternoon, Mr. Howard. Do we have Michael Conley in courtroom 2?
Yes, we have them.
Can we take him next?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Good afternoon, Mr. Connolly. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007231Y with 2 counts of simple battery family violence. To your history, Mr. Howard.
9th arrest. Let's see what we got. Open case in state court for DUI, improper lane change, failure to maintain lane, failure to report striking a fixed object. It's 24 CR 002910Y. Got an open simple battery DV obstruction. It's 24 CR 006634Y. 2024 disorderly conduct, 2015 simple battery DV.
I see on your notes, Mr. Howard, that I gave him the bond in that simple battery obstruction case. Do you have that bond there with you? Do you know what the bond was at that time?
I think it was 3,000. I think it's a different victim. I defer to the state though.
Okay.
Yes, there were different victims. Looks like he was given a 3,000 SOB through pretrial. He was ordered to stay away from 2739 Piper Drive. That is the same location where this incident occurred. So he is in violation of that bond order by returning to the incident location.
Thank you, Ms. McConkey.
Yes, this incident occurred October 11th, 2024, around midnight. The victim in this case is Michaela Kelly, who is the defendant's daughter. The defendant was upset with the victim because he had asked her to open the door and she forgot and fell asleep. So he stormed into her room and they began to argue. The defendant pushed the victim into her dresser, grabbed her by the collar, and threw her on the floor. The victim's siblings came into the room and separated the parties, and the victim left and called her grandmother to pick her up, then called the police. The victim did complain of a headache, and per officer's notes, she showed signs of emotional distress. Given the fact that he was ordered not to return to this location and he is in violation of a previous bond order, the state's recommendation is a $1,500 surety bond for each count of simple battery family violence, that he have no further contact with this victim, again, that he stay away from the incident location, that he undergo an FVIP or at the very least some anger awareness, and that he have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. Our office has reached out to the victim and have not been able to get in contact with her. She is 17 years old, but I would just ask the court to sound for her.
What is her last name again, Ms. McConkey?
Kelly.
Kelly?
Yes, Kelley.
If Ms. Michaela Kelly is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Okay. Yes, Mr. Howard.
Judge, thank you. My client, Mr. Conley, is 42 years old. He wasn't there when the police came out to the scene, but he found out that a warrant had been taken out, and so he wasn't able to tell his side of the story to the police. I think there's a different set of facts that we would put forward. But he has started a restaurant on Cascade Road. He's been an educator for 10 years. He's had primary physical custody of his children. Hello?
I don't know who that is. It's Laquana. You need to mute. Can we mute that? Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Howard. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. He was an educator for 10 years until he started his barbecue restaurant, which is doing well on Cascade. This was an argument with his daughter, who he's had primary physical custody of for years because he took away her cell phone. She jumped on him. I think that's what the facts will show. But he has no problem staying away from that residence now going forward. And we just asked for a signature bond in this case.
Okay.
He turned himself in, Judge, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. I apologize, but he did hire me, and I looked into the warrant, found out there was a warrant. He literally turned himself in the next day.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that he did that, but given that I gave him the signature bond the last time I saw him here, and I ordered him to stay away from this Piper Drive address, and apparently this is the location where he was arrested this time, that causes the court concern. So in this case, it'll be $1,000 good bond per charge, makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. At this point in time, no further contact with Ms. Kelly, stay away from the Piper Drive address, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Conley. Anything further this afternoon, Mr. Howard?
No, thank you, Judge. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon. Thank
You as well.
Next, we have position number 2, Mr. Borders.
Good afternoon, Mr. Borders. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0072226Y with 2 counts of simple battery, family violence, and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
4, open suspended license, possession of marijuana, theft by receiving, possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission, possession of a Schedule 1, 2018 possession of cocaine arrest.
Okay, Ms. McConkey.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred October 3rd of 2023. The incident location is 45 Boynton Avenue Southeast, 1405 Atlanta. The victim in this case is Miss Michaela Birch. Officers were dispatched to the incident location in regards to a domestic dispute. The defendant is accused of striking the victim multiple times in the head and arms. The assault occurred on the victim's porch and also inside of her house. There is ring video footage of the defendant grabbing the victim by her hair and pulling her inside the residence. The defendant is accused of also breaking the victim's phone. Our office has had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Birch, who says her and the defendant are no longer in a relationship. They do not live together, but they do share one child. She confirmed the events in the warrant, said the incident location is her mother's residence. She says her and the defendant have moved past this incident and have been co-parenting since. She says nothing like this has ever happened before. They've been in contact and there's been no violence, and she would like to remain in contact with the defendant. The state's recommendation is $1,000 on each count of simple battery, $500 on the criminal trespass, so a total of a $2,500 good bond, no further violent contact with the victim, that he undergo some anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Michaela Birch.
Ms. Birch is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. This is Ms. Birch. You'll have to unmute yourself. If you can raise your right hand for me, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I just would like to state to the court that the incident was over a year ago. Me and him no longer are together, like she stated. And we have reconciled and we maintain a very healthy relationship. I want to continue that. I want to continue our co-parenting. And I just hope that you, Your Honor, and the state can forgive him. Like I said, we moved past this situation. We're young and we're growing. And I just want to move forward with raising my son with him. Because like I said, I've never had any incident like this happen before or after with him. And yes, I just want to be mature about the situation and move forward.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 25 years old. He is not currently employed, so obviously have trouble making much of a bond. If a signature bond is not in order, and we would certainly like to see that at some pretrial level. But if that's not in order, we would ask for a bond as low as possible, and a surety bond as low as possible. We would ask for no further violent contact. Nothing further.
Okay, for each of the simple battery charges, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the criminal trespass, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further violent contact with Ms. Birch, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Borders.
Thank you.
Next, we have position number 22, Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace.
That will be Mr. McLean's if he's still tied up.
Is he still done?
Yeah, he's still in the breakout room.
Yeah. All right, we'll go with position number 23, Mr. Williams.
That'll be Mr. McLean's. I'm always the smaller numbers. I get up.
Collins available?
I'll go with Mr. Collins, position number 3.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Collins. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0072227E with 2 counts of battery family violence, 2 counts of simple battery family violence, and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. So your history, Mr. Howard?
19 total. On probation for ag assault and ag battery. It's 13 SC 122953. 2021 FTA. 2008 ag assault, possession of a firearm by convicted felon conviction. I stopped there.
Thank you. Ms. McCockey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred September 25th, 2023. I have that the incident location is 1722 Campbellton Road Southwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Aretha Jones, who shares a child with the defendant. The parties were at a barbecue when the defendant became upset because the victim was talking to another woman. The defendant attempted to swing at the victim, then left the scene and went to his mother's house where he began to toss the victim's belongings outside. The victim arrived at the home and attempted to retrieve her things, and the parties began arguing. The victim called her sister, Miss Owens, stating that she needed help. When Miss Owens arrived, she told officers that she observed the parties fighting. She observed the defendant punching the victim, while the victim had a frying pan in her hand in an attempt to defend herself from the defendant. Relatives were able to successfully break up the fight, but the parties then went to the bathroom and continued fighting. Ms. Owens states that that she observed the defendant knock the victim down into the bathtub and then proceed to stomp on her leg. The party's child, a minor with the initials JJ, was present and was sitting on his grandmother's lap during the assault. The victim did sustain a black eye, swelling to her face, and scratches on her lower back. She also had a noticeable limp on her left leg where the defendant had stomped on her. The defendant was not on the scene when officers arrived. Our office has spoken with Miss Aretha Jones, who states that her and the defendant are in a relationship. They live together at the incident location and they share one child. She said the defendant just pushed her into the tub and never stomped on her leg. She said that she received her injuries from hitting her head on the tub. She said they have been living together since this incident and there has been no violence since. She says she is not in fear of the defendant and wants him to return to the residence. The state's recommendation is going to be based on partially the defendant's history, which includes violent arrests and convictions. Coupled with the concerning allegations in this case and the fact that this assault looks like it was witnessed by several people, including the victim's own sister. The state's recommendation is for a total $3,500 surety bond, $1,000 on each count of battery, family violence, $500 on each simple battery, $500 on the cruelty to children, no further contact with the victim, stay away from the incident location, anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound Miss Aretha Jones.
Ms. Jones is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm fine,
Oh.
Ms. Jones. Let's see, you're gonna have to activate your camera for me.
Okay. Okay, now I can.
There you go. And okay, can you raise your right hand for me?
Yes,
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
Okay, yes, we had got the situation settled or whatever, no violence, no arguments. It's been a year since the incident. He's a good father to his son. We're here with his mother. We stay together. We're engaged. So I would just like for, him to continue to be with me. We are in a relationship. We take anger management classes. So we've been on good terms. This is the first incident ever.
Okay. And there's been no, you want him to come back home, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're not afraid of him?
No, we're here with him and his mother, his child. We all stay together. We have never had this problem before.
Okay, all right. I appreciate you being here this afternoon, Ms. Jones. Ms. McLeod?
All right. Thank you.
Your Honor, my client is 44 years old. He tells me that he and Miss Jones have been together for approximately 17 years. They do share a young son. I was able to speak with her as well, and she has stated the same thing she just said to me, that she is anxious for him to get home to their child. This incident happened well over a year ago, Your Honor. And as she has said, they've been living together since. I noticed that my client does have some kind of history, but it is old history. I believe he has, it was a 2013, I thought I heard. for what he had a probation violation for recently, Your Honor. So it's old history. He hasn't been in any kind of trouble for well over 10 years. So I would ask the court to consider giving him a signature bond through pretrial, because at this time he really doesn't have any money to pay for bond. Nothing further, Your Honor.
So for each of the battery charges, it'll be a $500 good bond. For the simple batteries, it'll be $1,000 good bond per charge, and for the cruelty, $100 good bond per charge, and for the cruelty, $100 good bond. So it's going to be a total of a $1,300 good bond. No further violent contact with Ms. Jones, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Mr. Collins.
Your Honor, would you repeat those bonds again, please?
Of course, 500 for each battery charge,
Mm-hmm.
and 100 for each of the other charges.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have position.
I have another client, but I have not been able to speak with her yet. Miss Allison Lewis.
Okay. As soon as I guess Miss Lewis is available, we'll have you call Cloud.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, we'll go with position number 6, Mr. Gibson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gibson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007230Y with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
25. Last arrest was last month for trespass. On probation for trespass as of last week. You were the judge in SAP. 2019 entering auto conviction. 2019 entering auto theft by taking conviction. 2014 and 16 burglary conviction.
Thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. That criminal trespass that pretrial just mentioned is 24 CR 006763Y. The defendant was ordered to stay away from 145 Southeast Malone Street in Fairborn, which is the same location that this incident occurred at. He was ordered to have no further contact with Willie Davenport, no further contact with Willie Stegall, undergo an MHET, and surrender all firearms. So he is in violation of his probation due to this incident. This incident occurred yesterday, October 23rd, 2024, at the incident location I just mentioned. The defendant is accused of trespassing on that property. Officers observed the defendant asleep on the couch in the living room. The defendant had also received a criminal trespass warning from this location in August. It seems like he's received multiple trespasses from this location. Miss Julie Davenport, who is the victim's sister, and also his power of attorney, came to the location to check on her brother, and that is when she observed the defendant on the couch. Our office has spoken with Miss Davenport, confirmed the events in the warrant, of course, told us once again he's not supposed to be there. She says they don't want the defendant at the residence because everyone is afraid of him. Last time he was there, he showed up with a gun. The state's recommendation is going to be for a $1,000 cash bond. I'm not exactly sure what is going on here, but it is clear that this defendant is not understanding that he is not supposed to go to this residence. No further contact with the victim. Stay away from the incident location. Surrender all firearms if he has not already done so, as he was ordered to do so in his previous case. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. He was already ordered to undergo an MHET. We might need to put him on the competency calendar. And I would just sound for Miss Julie Davenport.
Ms. Davenport, I see you there. If you wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. You'll have to activate your camera for me.
Okay, do you see me?
I do not, Ms. Davenport.
Okay, I can see you, but okay. This is new to me. I'm trying.
Okay, you can. Let's.
Okay, I don't know how. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, so I'm not sure how to tell you how to activate the camera, Ms. Davenport, but I'll need to see you to speak with you. Did I speak with you back on the 29th of September? Regarding
Yes.
okay, all right, so you may need to go out and come back into the session. I'll give you the opportunity to see if that will help you. I do remember your case, Ms. Davenport, and I do remember what your concerns were at that time. But go out and come back in and choose, make sure that the camera, you choose to activate camera when you do come back in, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Yes, I don't have much to say. My client is 43 years old. But I don't have the GCIC when we talk in the mornings. So I was not aware of all the circumstances. He is not working, and he can't afford a cash bond, or couldn't afford much of a surety bond. Frankly, I'm assuming, well, knowing that a signature bond is out of the question. As far as the other concerns, if he's already been ordered to have an MHET, I'm not sure what we can do at this. What I can order, this is already past what the social workers can do. So I'm going to leave this in the court's discretion.
Okay, he needs to get that MHET done. If I ordered that he had one less than a month ago, then I'm not sure if the paperwork's gone through for him to get that done, but we need to get that done. I do remember that he was going to this location, and there was a concern that he was going to go back there. So at this point in time, it's going to be $1,000 good bond and MHET. Stay away from the Malone Street address, no further contact with Mr. Willie Stegall, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If you can prepare that, I know that he was represented by your office, Mr. Cook, so maybe if you can try to coordinate with whoever represented him at that time to make sure that if we don't have an MHET in place, we're gonna have to get one in place, okay?
Was that ordered at SAP, Your Honor?
It was.
Okay, I'll talk to the attorneys that handle that and see what they've done, and we'll get it in.
Okay, so if it hasn't already been ordered, go ahead and get an order for me to sign.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's see, Miss Davenport?
He came back on, Judge, but I'm not sure if
Yeah.
she's still able to turn her camera on.
Miss Davenport, can you hear me? Okay, I'm not even sure if she can hear me at this point. All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Gibson.
All right. Thank you. Next, we're gonna go with position number 1, Mr. Barnes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Barnes. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007224G with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third. Last was 2022 on murder, knife, firearm possession, and drugs. He don't have any trespass convictions.
Okay, Ms. McCockey?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident occurred October 23rd, 2024. The incident location is 449 Charter Oak Drive, Southwest in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of trespassing on the property of Laquana Johnson after receiving a criminal trespass warning earlier that day. The defendant was found sitting on the chair right outside the victim's door. The parties do share a child together. Our office has spoken with Ms. Johnson, who states her and the defendant are in a relationship and they do not live together. They do, of course, share that one child. She states the incident location is her and her family's residence. She says the defendant suffers from MH and is currently not taking his medication. The defendant was acting out in front of her family, so she asked him to leave. The defendant refused to leave, so she called the police. When the police asked him to leave, he just went next door and waited on someone else's porch until the police left and then came back. The victim says that she wants no violent contact with the defendant, but she does want him to stay away from the residence. The state's recommendation is going to be for a signature bond, no further violent contact with Laquana Johnson, stay away from the incident location, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Johnson.
Ms. Johnson, I believe I see you there. If you would like to address the court, you'll have to activate your camera, unmute yourself, and I'll need to swear you in. Okay, doesn't appear that she wishes to address the court. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, we have no objection to the state's recommendation.
All right, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. No further violent contact with Ms. Johnson. Stay away from the Charter Oak Drive address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Barnes.
Can we do the interpretation in courtroom 1, please?
Okay, can you tell me what the name and the number?
Position number 13, Mr. Ramirez.
Let's see. Good afternoon, Mr. Ramirez. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007246G with simple battery family violence.
Buenas tardes, señor Ramírez. A usted se le está imputando el delito en número de caso 24CR 007246G de acometimiento, violencia en el hogar.
It's my understanding that this is Mr. Ramirez's first arrest.
Tengo entendido que este es el primer arresto del señor Ramírez.
State, that's what I got. I don't know. That's what they gave me.
I
Eso es
have
lo que yo tengo, yo no sé, es la información que me dieron.
I have a 2022 assault conviction out of Ohio.
Yo tengo una condena en 2022 por agresión del estado de Ohio.
2022 simple battery family violence arrest in Moultrie, Georgia.
También un arresto en el 2022 de agresión simple, violencia en el hogar en Moultrie, Georgia.
And
Sorry, ¿puedo hablar?
I'm sorry, may I speak?
Not at this
Disculpa,
time,
el
not
el
at this
segundo
time,
caso
ma'am.
que estás nombrándole a él
The
no tiene nada que ver con...
The second, Your Honor, I'm not sure if I am allowed to interpret as you asked for her to not speak.
Okay, what did she say?
The second case does not have anything to do with this one.
Let her know that I will allow her to speak at a later time and after I hear the facts of the case.
Señora, a usted, el señor juez le va a permitir hablar más adelante, una vez que haya escuchado los hechos del caso.
I apologize, Miss Allen. You can continue.
Thank you. The defendant has
Okay.
The defendant has an open CWAC case out of Coweta County from 2022 involving a child.
El señor acusado tiene un caso abierto de CWAC del condado de Coweta de 2022 que tiene que ver con un menor de edad.
And has a May 2024 open case for battery and riot in an institution as well out of Coweta.
Y también tiene un caso abierto del condado de Coweta por acometimiento y hacer disturbios en un centro penitenciario del mayo 2024.
This is an incident that occurred. The victim's name is Maria Isabel. I believe she's on the Zoom.
Es un incidente que ocurrió con la presunta víctima. Se llama María Isabel. Creo que ella está conectada a la llamada.
It's reported by the victim that she and the defendant share a child and live together.
Según lo que informó la víctima, ella y el señor acusado tienen un hijo en común y viven juntos.
On the incident date, Your Honor,
En la fecha de lo sucedido, su señoría,
The victim reported that at the location 13805 Morris Road in Alpharetta,
La víctima informó que en el lugar de lo sucedido en el 13805 de la Morse Road, Alpharetta,
and this is October the 23rd, so yesterday,
me refiero al 23 de octubre, entonces ayer,
she and the defendant argued.
ella y el señor acusado discutieron.
The victim was going to retrieve some of her items. Her son was with her.
La víctima iba a recoger uno de sus artículos personales, su hijo estaba con ella.
And the defendant shoved her in the back of the head into the wall of the closet.
Y el señor acusado le dio un empujón en la parte trasera de la cabeza, haciéndola caer en el armario.
This was in front of her child.
Eso sucedió delante de su hijo.
We did speak with Mrs. Isabel today.
Sí, hablamos con la señora Isabel hoy día.
She reported that she and the defendant are in a relationship and live at the location.
Ella informó que ella y el señor acusado tienen una relación y viven en el lugar de lo sucedido.
And that they share a child.
Y que tienen un hijo en común.
She did confirm that the incident occurred like it's documented in the report.
Ella sí confirmó que el incidente ocurrió de la manera que está indicado en el informe.
This incident occurred when she was trying to leave the location with her child.
El incidente ocurrió cuando ella intentaba salirse del lugar de los hechos con su hijo.
The defendant made admissions on the scene to police, Your Honor.
Y el señor acusado admitió estos actos delante de los agentes de policía en el lugar de los hechos, su señoría.
The victim reported that she's not in fear and this is a situation that just got out of control.
La víctima informó que ella no tiene temor, es solamente una situación que le salió de la mano.
The state would argue for a $2,000 surety based on the two open cases in Coweta County.
El Estado está proponiendo una fianza de $2,000, una fianza de caución, debido al hecho de que tiene dos casos abiertos en el condado de Coweta.
No contact with the victim or any minors, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Ningún contacto con la víctima, ni con ningún menor de edad, y nada de consumo de alcohol, ni droga, ni tenencia de armas mientras está en libertad bajo fianza.
Disculpa, ¿puedo hablar?
Excuse me, may I speak?
Okay. If this is Miss Isabel, you're going to have to activate your camera and I'm going to need to swear you in.
Si usted es la señora Isabel, usted va a tener que prender su cámara y le voy a tener que dar el juramento.
I need to see your face, ma'am.
Necesito verle la cara, señora.
One moment, please. Okay.
Okay. Do you swear from, are you able to speak English, ma'am?
¿Habla inglés, señora?
No.
Bien.
Okay. If you'll raise your right hand for me.
Levante la mano derecha, por favor, señora.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Jura y afirma que la declaración que va a dar en ese tribunal es la verdad y toda la verdad y nada más que la verdad.
Sí, lo juro.
Yes, I swear.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
Muy bien, señora, puede bajar la mano. ¿Qué es lo que usted quiere decir?
Ok,
Y por favor, hable con
quiero
pausa.
manifestarte que creo que están teniendo una equivocación, ya que Camilo nunca ha tenido problemas con la ley. Los
I
otros
would
dos
like to
casos
say that you all are making a mistake since that Camilo has never had any problems with the law. Adelante.
los otros dos casos no son de él, solamente lo sucedido ayer. No hemos vivido en el estado que nombran anteriormente.
The other two cases are not with him, just what happened yesterday. And we did not live in the state that was mentioned.
Y desde que llegamos a este país, ninguno de los dos hemos tenido problemas con la ley.
And since we've arrived in this country, neither one of us have had problems with the law.
Anything further that you'd like to tell the court, ma'am?
¿Algo adicional que quisiera decir, señora?
Eh, Nada, está bien. Solamente quería pues dejar en claro y que por favor revisaran que el caso que tenemos es lo de lo sucedido de ayer. Los dos anteriores casos los desconocemos y nunca hemos estado en ese estado. También lo pueden ver en nuestro historial. No hemos salido de Georgia.
Nothing. Just I wanted to make it clear that the only case is the one which happened on yesterday. The two other cases, that's not his case. We've never lived in that other state. Only the one from yesterday.
How, Ms. Allen, can we verify the history,
And the
please?
interpreter, I'm sorry, the interpreter did make a mistake and leave that out. You can check our history. We haven't left this state.
I'm working on that now. This is based on his criminal history that's related to his fingerprint data. And the running of the GCIC. These are cases out of Coweta County. I can tell you.
Podemos ver el historial, lo estoy buscando en este momento. Eso es lo que salió en su historial por las huellas dactilares que tiene registrados y también salió en la base de datos de Georgia.
Pero
Esos dos
él
casos
nunca ha
del
ido.
condado de Coweta.
Le digo que no tiene seguro.
No, que está en eso y lo agarra y lo frisa.
Nunca, o sea, nunca hemos tenido problemas, nunca ha tenido problemas con la ley, nunca ha ido a prisión, nunca lo ha arrestado un policía por licencia, ni por nada,
We've never
ni
had any
por
problems with
nada.
the law. He's never been in prison. He's never been arrested by a
Y
police
tampoco
officer.
nunca hemos ido a ese estado que están nombrando, no hemos salido de Georgia.
And we haven't been to that state that you're naming. We haven't left Georgia.
Nunca ha puesto sus huellas dactilares en ninguna
He's never given
parte.
his fingerprints anywhere.
Okay, so would you like to, Ms. Isabel, would you like to tell me about the incident that occurred on October 23rd?
Entonces, señora Isabel, quisiera decirme sobre el incidente que ocurrió el 23 de octubre.
Sí, sí, señora. Estábamos teniendo una pequeña conversación sobre temas relacionados con el trabajo y el
Yeah.
dinero.
We were having
Luego,
a small
ok.
conversation about problems related to work and money. Mhm.
Luego su madre entró y bueno, digámoslo así, nos empezó como a regañar un poco sobre que por qué estábamos hablando tan fuerte, ella lo tomó
And
como
then his
discusión
mom
ahora.
came in and she sort of scolded us. Why are we talking so loud? She thought that we were arguing. Adelante.
Ok, a horas de la noche, a lo cual la señora empezó a gritar un poco fuerte y a subir la conversación de tono cuando no era necesario hacerlo.
And then later that night, she started screaming and she started elevating the tone of the conversation when that was not necessary.
Así que luego empezamos a discutir los dos, decidí coger mis cosas y a mi hijo e irme porque eso fue lo que dijo ella, que nos fuéramos.
So then we started arguing. And so I decided to get my things and my son.
Ok, y fue cuando él y yo tuvimos el altercado de que él se frustró un poco al ver que yo me iba a ir con el niño y
And
ahí
then
fue
that's
donde,
we had the altercation because he got frustrated seeing that I was going to leave with my son.
ok, se frustró cuando vio que me iba a ir con el niño y me empujó y caí en la pared y me golpeé y eso fue todo.
So that's when he got frustrated that I was going to leave with my son, and he pushed me and I fell on the wall, and that was it.
Who called the police?
¿Quién marcó a la policía, señora?
Yo.
I did.
And why did you call the police?
¿Y por qué llamó a la policía?
Llamé a la policía porque, no sé, fue un momento de frustración y siempre suelo, o sea, siempre que me siento así, No sé, o sea, no sé, quería hacerlo porque lo único que yo quería hacer era salir con mi hijo, irme con mi hijo y no escuchar más a la señora.
I don't know. It was a moment of frustration. It was the first thing when I feel, well, the only thing is I just wanted to leave. I wanted to leave with my son, and I did not want to listen to um, the that lady anymore.
That lady, his mother?
La señora, la mamá de él.
Yes.
Yes.
Where were you going?
¿Para dónde iba usted?
Iba a ir a un hotel.
I was going to go to a hotel.
Has this happened before?
¿Y eso ha pasado antes, señora?
No, en realidad no había pasado antes, o sea, no tengo muy buena relación con ella, pero como que trabajo todo el día, entonces no cruzo palabras con ella.
No, actually, no, it has not. I don't have a really good relationship with her. I work all day, so I really don't even cross words with her.
Is it her household that you're living in?
¿Es la casa de ella donde usted está viviendo?
Es una casa arrendada, la casa se arrendó para que cada uno cogiera una habitación.
It's a rented home. It's a house that was rented so that each person could get a room.
Okay. And who all lives in the household?
¿Está bien? ¿Y quiénes viven en la casa?
Estamos la señora, otra pareja que vive en otra habitación, nosotros dos y el niño.
It's the lady, another couple that lives in another room, my son, and the two of us.
Okay. Anything further, Miss Isabel?
Está bien, señora. ¿Algo adicional?
Estoy buscando un cuarto para mudarme.
I'm
O sea,
looking,
los tres.
I'm looking for a room to move to, and I mean the three of us.
Okay. Thank you for being here, ma'am.
Está bien.
Mr.
Gracias por estar presente, señora.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client has no prior arrests, he states, and I told him that because of the nature of the case, it is possible the court might tell him to live elsewhere during the pendency, and got information about that if we need to go there. However, I would ask the court to consider a signature bond with no further violent contact.
Su señoría, mi cliente no tiene arrestos anteriores según lo que me dice y yo le comenté que debido a la naturaleza de este caso, usted le iba a mandar a vivir en otro lado durante el tiempo que el caso está pendiente. Yo le pediría a su señoría que considere imponerle una fianza bajo palabra con una condición de no más contacto violento.
My client gave me the first name and surname of his supervisor at a mechanic shop in Alpharetta, and I've confirmed that the business exists at a certain address, but I have not reached his supervisor yet.
Mi cliente me dio el nombre y el apellido de su supervisor en un taller mecánico en Alpharetta y yo he confirmado que el negocio sí existe, pero no he hablado aún con el supervisor.
I believe I have confirmed the name of the cement company that he works for, but again, I've not spoken to a person there.
Y creo que confirmé el nombre de una compañía de cemento donde trabaja, pero tampoco he confirmado. I'm sorry, Mr. McLean, you haven't confirmed.
I haven't talked to any person at the KG Paving Company.
Thank you. Que todavía no he hablado con nadie en el lugar KG Paving.
But under these circumstances, I think it would be possible to have no further arrests and no further allegations, no further incidents It's very important for this to be peaceful.
Pero considerando las circunstancias, yo creo que sería recomendable que él no tenga más arrestos, no más alegaciones, que todo sea en paz.
And I think under the circumstances, I think that is quite achievable.
Considerando esas circunstancias, yo creo que ellos sí lo podrían hacer.
In all candor to the court and helpfulness in making sure he doesn't miss his mail, I think the address digits, the 5-digit number on the apartment complex is mixing up the sequence. So I think it's 13085 rather than 13805. And I believe the apartment number is 13302.
Y con toda sinceridad, para que no pase sin recorrer o recibir la notificación de sus próximas audiencias, yo creo que el tribunal se equivocó con los números de la dirección, que de los 5 cifras, que es 13085 y no 13805, y el número del apartamento es 13302.
My client was correcting me on the number, and I was looking it up on the internet.
Mi cliente me corrigió sobre el número y lo estaba buscando aquí en el internet.
I think he's correct.
Creo que él tiene razón.
That's all.
Okay,
Es todo.
nothing further. It's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
No hay nada adicional, así que será una fianza de $3,000, una fianza bajo palabra a través de los servicios previo al juicio, nivel 1.
1-day anger awareness.
Una clase de control de temperamento,
No further violent contact with Miss Isabel.
que no tenga más contacto violento con la señora Isabel,
No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
y nada de consumo de drogas, alcohol ni tenencia de armas mientras esté en libertad bajo fianza.
Good luck to you, Mr. Ramirez.
Buena suerte, señor Ramírez.
How many weeks or days of anger awareness, Your Honor?
¿Y cuántas
It was-
semanas o días de la clase de control de temperamento, su señoría?
It was 1, Miss Bridgewater.
Thank you.
Era 1, señora Bridgewater. Gracias.
Do we have any need for Madam Interpreter for any other cases this afternoon?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your help this afternoon.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
You the same.
Your Honor, the other charge was.
Disculpa, sorry.
Excuse me.
¿Cómo se paga la fianza?
How is the bond paid?
It's a signature bond, ma'am. He's
Es una
able to-
fianza. I'm sorry, Your Honor, I cut you off.
No, you're fine. It's a signature bond. He's able to sign himself out.
Es una fianza bajo palabra, así que él puede firmar para salir.
Ok.
dónde lo recomiendo?
¿Dónde se puede ir a buscar?
And where do I go to look for him?
You'll have to call the jail to find out when he's processed out.
Tendrá que llamar a la cárcel para saber cuándo ellos han tramitado su salida.
Ok, thank you,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
May I interject briefly?
His other charge were, when they NOD the cruelty.
Yes, you can't charge cruelty for a simple battery, only a battery.
If the interpreter may inquire, is NOD dismissed? ¿Y el otro cargo de maltrato de menores quedó desestimado? Sí, se quedó desestimado el cargo.
Mr. McLean, did you have something else?
Yes, I wanted to tell him to use the free telephone on the wall to the left of the exit door on the way out of the jail to call his family.
Sí, señor, yo le quería decir que use el teléfono en la pared al lado izquierdo de la puerta de salida. Es un teléfono gratis para llamar a su familia.
Thank you.
Your Honor, very briefly, I am looking at the identity potential issue. I'm gonna reach out to the jail and make sure that this gentleman gets fingerprinted and gets run through again to address any possible identity issues, okay?
Okay, thank you, Ms.
En
Allen.
cuanto al problema de la identidad del señor, yo voy a llamar a la cárcel y asegurar que le saquen las huellas dactilares para evitar cualquier problema futuro con su identidad. Está bien.
Okay, who do we have next?
Position number 23, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007228A with 2 counts of battery family violence, 2 counts of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and simple battery family violence. Your history, Mr. Howard?
2021 probation. He got a lot of drugs. 2014 possession of firearm by convicted felon. 2017 criminal damage to property 2nd degree, obstruction conviction. That's it.
Ms.
Your Honor,
Allen?
thank you. This is an incident from the 6th of October at 415 Fairburn Road Southwest. Police were called actually by 2 juvenile children, a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, Alexis and Chloe. On scene, it was reported by the victim, Ron Shonda Lawson, who is on the Zoom, that during an argument, the defendant pushed her into a window, causing that window to break and cutting her on the wrist. He then held her down on the bed by her head and by her neck and proceeded to punch her in the head. She was seen to have bruising on her neck. The 2 young women, 2 juvenile daughters of this victim, came into the room. First, the 14-year-old witnessed the defendant on top of mom, went and got the 12-year-old to help. They tried to get the defendant off of their mother and were not very successful. One of the children, the 14-year-old, then called 911 and the defendant fled. Police saw bruising on the neck of the victim as well as swelling on her cheek. She reported to police that they lived together. We did speak to Mrs. Lawson today, Your Honor. She reported that she and the defendant are married and live together, but they share no children and that they'd had an argument. She claims it was her fault because she got in his face and that it was an accident. She just fell into the window. The defendant had to hold her down to prevent her from assaulting him. She denies being struck in the head and that her children only called the police because they were afraid. That they've been at the incident location since the 6th of October when this happened, and there have been no incidents since. She'd like him to come home. The state would argue that these young juveniles shouldn't have to witness this or call police when their mother is being assaulted by the gentleman she's choosing to spend time with. We'd ask for a $4,000 surety, no contact with the victim or her minor children, stay away from wherever the minor children may live and the victim may live and work, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. I would state that the multiple felony convictions this defendant has don't seem to be including a bunch of domestic violence, but do include weapons and drugs and destruction of property. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lawson, I see you there. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity. I'll need for you to activate your camera for me.
I can't activate it. It say the host has disabled it. I keep on trying, but it say you did it.
Okay, so we'll see if we can get the host to, there you go. Okay, can you raise your right hand for me, ma'am? Yeah, find a steady, okay.
Turn it down. Turn it down. Turn it down. Thank you. Yes, I do.
Okay, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
Okay, so the incident happened on October 6th. When my husband, he did not put his hands on me. And I can show you my window as well. And we reside together and we share a car together as well. So this is the window right here. We live upstairs. So if he would have pushed me through the window, I would have fell down there. So right here, you see the window. it's not really shattered. But what my husband was trying to do, he was trying to prevent me from keep on walking to his face because we was in a heated argument. We was in a heated argument. I kept walking to his face, and he never put his hands on me before. We never been through none of this, but it was a real bad argument, and I got super mad. But he do have a cut from me cutting him. He do have that on his shoulder, and that's why I feel like he don't deserve to be in jail right now. If anybody's supposed to be in jail, because since I'm the one who cut him, I'm supposed to be the one in jail. And far as that, when it comes to my kids love my husband. No, they not biologically his kids, but when I was hospitalized in April, all the way for them 3 months, my husband took care of my children while I was not able to take care of my children. And also my 12-year-old, she is here. My 14-year-old is at school. My 12-year-old wants to stay here to come to court as well.
Okay, well, Ms. Lawson, let me just say, 12 years old, and you're subjecting a 12-year-old, you're suggesting that he should, and that he should see, or she should see, Mr. Williams, in custody like this? And that you're willing to subject your child to that? You should be protecting your child from this type of stuff.
I do protect my children with everything in me. I protect my children. My children is not used to saying this. That's why I said that my husband do not do this kind of stuff, regardless of what's on his record. He's never did anything like this before. This was the first time our argument got this heated. If we argue, my children don't even know that we argue because we argue in the room and not around anyone.
All right. Any questions, Ms. Allen? It's fine if you don't have any. I just want to give you the opportunity.
Miss Lawson, your children called the police when this happened?
Yes.
They tried to intervene during your argument and the assault that happened?
Yes. My daughter, when she seen him holding me from striking him, she tried to pull him off me. But all he did not mark, and y'all keep saying he hit me in my face. He never hit me in my face, not one time.
You remember talking to the police after this incident?
Yep, I talked to them downstairs.
Okay. And how long was it after October the 6th that the defendant came home and was with you and your children at the home again?
That night.
That night. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you for being here, Ms. Lawson. Yeah, you're on mute, Ms. Allen.
One more question, ma'am. Have you guys been talking since he's been arrested at the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you talk about what you needed to say here in court today?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So when I pull the jail calls, I'm not going to hear anything like that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McClain?
Your Honor, my client is 34 years old. He works in warehouses, primarily in security, but lately he had a bad hand injury while he was working at a pallet maker. And I believe this was this past January. So it was more than half a year ago. He's applied for disability because the cut on his hand went all the way to the bone. So he has either applied for the disability or is about to. And so he does have a job history. He works hard when he can, but it looks like he's going to be down for a bit. He asked the court to consider a signature bond. He asked the court to consider as low bond as possible under these circumstances. That's all.
Okay, let me just say, I think that both Mr. Williams and Ms. Lawson, that you both need a parenting class and anger awareness, but I can't order you to do anything, Ms. Lawson, only suggest it to you. As far as the bond goes, for the battery family violence, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the 2 cruelties, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the other battery family violence, a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $7,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. A parenting class, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Lawson, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you both.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have position 24, Mr. I'm not gonna pronounce that last, Joshua, first name Joshua.
Yes, sir. Pronounce your last name for me, please.
It's pronounced Wonderufaya.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. You've been charged in case 24CR007225Y with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? I've got first arrest, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Miss Allen?
Thank you. This incident occurred on the 22nd of October. Police were called to 2849 Blount Street in East Point. The defendant and the victim, Jeremiah Mormon, are roommates. There was a witness, Randall Brooks, to this incident. The documentation I have shows that the victim, Mr. Mormon, was grabbed by the neck by this defendant, leaving visible bruising and scratches. It's reported by all the individuals spoken to that there was an argument about the fact that the conditions of the lease were changing, and that was ultimately going to be evicting Mr. Mormon and forcing him to find a new place to live before he was ready to, and maybe without notice. There was an argument. Mr. Mormon reports that the defendant became aggressive and followed him into the kitchen. He reported that he put his hands up because spit was flying out of the defendant's mouth, and he felt that the defendant interpreted this response as an aggression. In response to that, the defendant grabbed him by his neck forcefully, and they engaged in an altercation at that point. The defendant was seen to have a bloody lip as well. He was identified as the initial aggressor, Your Honor. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. No contact with Mr. Jeremiah Mormon, stay away from the location, and have no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. We did reach out to Mr. Mormon, but we were not successful today. If you'd sound for him.
Mr. Jeremiah Mormon's on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so.
Somebody takes this dude back to see.
Here, so, this your case, Mr. McLean?
Yeah. He about to hyper me.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Mr. McLean.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Okay, you can proceed.
Your Honor, my client, I believe, is I wrote down a big 60 and circled it. So if I look over at the screen, I think he's 60 years old. Is that correct? His
birthday is 93 on
oh, then he's not 60.
On the sheet here, and he's.
Let's start over. Sorry. Your Honor, he's worked at the $3 Cafe. He's worked in the for 2 years.
No. That is not me, Mr. McLean.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Your Honor. I grabbed the wrong paper. Let's start over. And he works for the payroll company, which is a financial institution. For 4 years before that, he also worked for Payrock, which is also a financial corporation. My apologies, Mr. Wonderful. And he would ask the court, because it is his first arrest, to grant him a signature bond. He's been in Georgia 8 years. He's been working the whole time. And he's stable. He's local now. Thank you.
Well, tell me about the Blount Street address, Mr. McLean. Is Mormon moving out of that address? Does he need to go back for one time to see if he's leaving? What's going on with that location?
Now that the details of the movements coming up, I didn't ask about, but I think it would be okay to ask him directly. Sir, who's going to stay and who's going to move out?
The details of that are Jeremiah is the landlord is now evicting Jeremiah. It is a rooming situation. She is now evicting him, and he's to be out of the property within the week. I'm going to be staying there. However, I do have plans to move out of that probably by November 8th. If I may offer a suggestion here, which I may be out of line in doing so, I've heard a number of times on this call You guys have discussed the ability for no more violent contact. Given that I'm moving out of that property here in the next couple of weeks, I would offer that as a suggestion, even if I'm out of line in doing so. Thank you.
Okay, so given that Mr. Mormon's not here, I'm not going to be willing to have no more violent contact. What I will do, sir, is that if Mr. Mormon is not at the location, I'll allow you to go back there with a police escort. If he is still at that location, you're going to have to find earlier than November 8th another place to reside. Okay, so it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. Level 1, no further contact with Mr. Mormon. Stay away from the Blount Street address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement. If Mr. Mormon is not there, then you can stay there. If he is there, then you're going to have to get your belongings and find someplace else to reside. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, what was that about? I'm sorry.
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1.
All right, next we'll go with position number 22, Mr. Wallace.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wallace. You've been charged in case. Good afternoon, sir. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007232E with simple assault and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
78 on probation for trespass out of the cab. Well, 2 different trespasses. He got a lot of trespass convictions. 2024 FTA. That's it.
Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred on the 10th of October at the MARTA station at Buckhead, 3360 Peachtree Road. Report was made by the victim. Her name is Maria Esquivel, Esquivel. Actually, it's Mariana, excuse me. She reported that as she was going to charge her breeze card, the defendant approached her, an unknown male, and offered to open the gate and allow her to come in without paying if she gave him $1, and she could avoid paying the $250 fare. She did not take that offer and went and loaded her breeze card. Once she made her way into the MARTA station, the defendant rushed at her with balled up fists, pointing at her and screaming at her. She backed away and was able to get on a train and leave. She made the report. CCTV footage was reviewed and confirmed and corroborated the statements that the victim made. It was also useful to identify the defendant and the fact that he's got a permanent suspension that was issued a year ago in October from MARTA. We'd ask for $2,000, Your Honor, for the 2 charges, a surety bond, absolutely no contact with the victim, Mariana Esquivel. Stay away from MARTA in accordance with his permanent no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we'd request an evaluation. Thank you.
Ms. Esquivel is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, this is the fellow who works at the $3 Cafe, has worked there. He's worked in the food industry primarily during his adult life. He's a local person. He's been in Georgia all his life. He does have quite a few arrests and is very candorous about that. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond, and if not, then as low a bond as is reasonable.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be a $250 good bond, makes for a total of a $500 good bond, a social worker visit for a BHET, no further contact with Ms. Esquivel, stay away from all MARTA, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Wallace. Up next. You're on mute, courtroom 2.
Position number 20, Mr. Vaughn.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Vaughn. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007236E with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Your history, Mr. Howard?
Vaughn 17, got an open suspended registration, DUI. 2016 battery DV conviction, 2012 simple battery DV no low. This is Vaughn, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Sally?
Thank you, Your Honor. The victim in this case, her name is Minolia Williams, Minolya is how it's spelled on our documents. This is an incident from last August, 2023. There's been a warrant out for a period of time. I would note that the 2016 battery family violence conviction, I have confirmed. The victim reported to police last year that she and the defendant lived together, that she walked near their home after an argument and met with him, and they drove to the KFC at 23 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard. During the drive, she was taking the keys off of the key ring, and in response, the defendant struck her in her chest while he was driving. He continued to drive and pulled over at the intersection nearby and proceeded to strike her in the head 3 different times with a closed fist. She exited the vehicle and went to 1289 Arkridge Street and called the police. The police report notes that she had redness and bruising on her chest, and she was in pain and had swelling to her head. She declined EMS treatment. While she was sitting talking with the police, the defendant called her numerous times. She answered the phone, and he was noted to have slurred speech and appeared to be under the influence. The victim, when we spoke with her today, she reported that she and the defendant are married and they live together but share no children. She confirmed the events in the warrants and said that they are still together, and that there's no violence that has happened since this incident. I would say that the defendant's prior felony level false imprisonment case in 2015 here in Superior Court, he was allowed to plead down to a misdemeanor affray and a disorderly. Mrs. Williams was the victim in that case as well. He's got a 2012 simple battery that he took a NOLO to, as well as 2 prior simple battery convictions in his past. There also seems to be felony level drug convictions and an open DUI. Based on the facts of this case, it looks like there's a substance abuse problem. There has been communication between the defendant and the victim from the jail since his arrest. We'd ask for no violent contact, Your Honor. It has been a year, although there does seem to be an ongoing issue that maybe the victim's not ready to talk about. She deserves to have no violent contact, and they share no children. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety nonetheless, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And if you'd sound from Mrs. Williams.
If Miss Minolia Williams is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Hi,
Good
my name is
afternoon.
Manoya.
Okay, I'm sorry I messed it up,
That's
ma'am.
okay.
Can you raise
That's
your right
okay.
hand for me? Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear
Yes.
from the testimony you're about to give before the court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
If possible, Mr. Vaughn is on disability, and if they can get a signature bond if possible. Since the incident occurred last year, I have had any problems with Mr. Vaughn. But in December of last year, he did have a situation that he almost died, and I'm the one that pretty much saved his life, and that was due to the alcohol. He was hospitalized for 7 days after that situation in the hospital. He have not touched any alcohol, and I have had any problem, no hostile, not raising his voice or anything towards me. He's been pretty much proving himself that he was going to become a better person. So, if possible, if he can do a signature bond because of the income, and also I was advised that I have a tumor and I have to take off work to have surgery, and he will be the one to provide for the household during that time.
Okay. I hate to hear that, Ms. Williams. I wish you well. Thank you for this afternoon.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, we did request that this case be transferred as a felony. However, because of the lack of seriousness of the visible injuries in this situation. It does meet the criteria. They just weren't interested in taking it. This should be a felony based on prior convictions.
Mr. McLean, is this your case?
It is, Your Honor, yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, my client is disabled. He has 100% disability as of 2018. He receives an SSI chat. He and I did discuss some of his prior history, and we talked about of course, the facts of the case and the seriousness of the need to make sure there's no further drinking. We'd ask the court to consider a signature bond under these circumstances with appropriate conditions, even if those conditions include addressing the alcohol with an ADET.
Okay. Nothing further. For the battery, it'd be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. For the simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. 1-day anger awareness. No further violent contact with Ms. Williams. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Bond.
Next, we'll go with position number 21, Mr. Bavetta.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Vivetta. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0072348 with theft by shoplifting and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Yeah. 64, 2024 probation, 2024 trespass conviction, 2019 probation, 2018 simple battery against police, NOLO, 2017 to 18 probation, and 2016 simple battery DV NOLO.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from yesterday, October the 23rd. The defendant has numerous AKAs and records within our system associated with multiple names, but he does have a significant criminal history that includes theft. The incident location is 2685 Metropolitan Parkway Southwest. That's a Kroger. He was seen taking an empty box into the location and putting cartons of Newports into that box and leaving. He took 5 cartons of Newports, each valued at $91.60. I can't believe how expensive cigarettes are. That total value of all of those is $300 some, Your Honor. He walked past all points of sale. Manager at the location spoke to police. The incident was captured on surveillance. He then returned the same day and was identified by security. Police went to detain him. He snatched his arms away and tried to push the officer down. That's Officer Adams. Those are the basis of the 3 charges in front of you. He just was found guilty or pled guilty in August to burglary that was reduced to misdemeanor criminal trespass in Superior Court. He's got a burglary arrest from January of this year, 2022, shoplifting arrest, felony, multiple burglaries, and false information, as well as theft of services. But the most concerning is honestly the violence and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon conviction that he's got in his past. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, to stay away from the location at Kroger at 2685 Metropolitan Parkway, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Ms. Allen, my calendar only has 2 charges. Is there a 3rd charge?
There is. Hold on, let me see. There are a lot of cases today. Oh, I submitted a null pros or a NOD on a criminal trespass.
Okay, thank you.
Initially charged him with a criminal trespass, so just 2. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. All right, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, I have, they're calling me from courtroom 2. I hope it's not urgent. I think it may be Mr. Vivetter, Your Honor, worked 7 years at Crystal's and lost his job due to being tardy. He's got a new job at Burger King and is determined not to lose this job, and he will be on time. He's very enthused about that. He denies the charges here, and I've got his sister's number, so he's local. He does have some memory problems, so there were some limitations to our interview, given the nature of the shoplifting allegation and realizing the seriousness. Also, in addition of the violence alleged, we would nonetheless ask the court to consider a signature bond. If not, then as low as possible, a surety bond.
All right, for each charge, it'll be a $250 good bond, makes for a total of a $500 good bond. Stay away from the Kroger on Metropolitan Parkway. I think that something else is going on with Mr. Vivetter, so I want to have a social worker visit for a BHET, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Vivetter.
Your Honor, we have two that was on a pull sheet, but they're not on the calendar. We have a Mr. Keith Hall and a Michael Finley.
Both of those cases are felony transfers, Your Honor. They'll be on a first appearance.
Okay.
What about Miss Lewis, Allison Lewis?
We're going, we're going to get, he just came off of dialysis. We're going to get him from medical now. He was on dialysis all day, and we just got a word that he's off now, so he can see.
What about position number 11, Tony Montgomery?
Your Honor, that's a waiver.
He waived.
Okay, so, and what about 12, Manisha Pitts?
I understand he's loaned out to Grady Still.
So, Pitts, position 12 needs to be reset until tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. So while we wait on on Lewis, let's go ahead and do position 11, Tony Montgomery, charged in case 24 CR 007244C with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
32. Got to open trespass out of the cab and robbery by sudden snatch. 2019, 2020 probation. 2017 cruelty to children conviction.
Ms.
Your
Allen?
Honor, this is an incident from the 14th of October at 3400 Peachtree Dunwoody Road. That's a Home Depot. The defendant concealed multiple items. They're actually clothing items in a bag and past all points of sale. The value was $269.94. Footage was reviewed and he was recognized from a previous encounter with law enforcement there. He then came back on the 22nd of October and was arrested. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, stay away from the location at 3400 Peachtree Dunwoody Road, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Brooke? Is your case? Oh, Ms. McLean, yes.
Yes, Your Honor. We had quite a conversation about the recidivist shoplifting concept and about the fourth. So thank goodness he's not at that threshold. Your Honor, he is disabled. He does have some MH, but primarily he wanted me to tell the court that he is an Army veteran. He was in service for 3 years. He's got an honorable discharge. He was one of the most accurate people, 32 arrests. And so he would ask the court to consider, he's stable in terms of his dress. His age is 63. He lives on Daniel Avenue. There shouldn't be any problems with him keeping up with his court date. I would ask the court to consider a signature bond.
Does he have a place to live? Mr.
6
McLean? Yes, he
Yes,
does.
he has a specific address on Daniel Avenue. It's his mom's. He lives with his mom.
All right, it'll be a $500 good bond. Stay away from the Home Depot on Peachtree Dunwoody Road. Social worker visit for Mr. Montgomery also, for BHUT, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. I believe Mr. Lewis is our last one today. So Ms. Bridgewater, while we wait on Mr. Lewis, do you want to go over the calendar?
Yes, Your Honor. Position number one, first of all, the reset date for the SAP calendar is November the 7th. Position number one is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position two is reset further notice with a $2,500 total SOB through the jail. Position three is going to the SAP calendar. And if you would, Your Honor, I have this, and this is an odd total, but I want to make sure I'm right on this. I have it as a total $1,300 good bond.
That's correct.
Okay, it's so odd, I thought it was wrong. Okay, but at any rate, it's going to the SAP calendar. Position number four is going to the SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. Position five is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,500 good bond. Position six, SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 7 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. 8, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. We're waiting on 9. 10 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 11, set to the SAP calendar with a $500 good bond. 12 is medically reset till tomorrow. 13 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 14 is going to the SAP calendar with a $500 good bond. 15 is reset to the SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. 16 SAP calendar with a total $5,000 good bond. 17 SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. 18 SAP calendar with a $4,000 total good bond. 19 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. 20 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 21 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. 22 SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. 23 is reset further notice with a total $7,000 SOB through pretrial. 24 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise? Okay.
Okay, Ms. Davenport, are you still with me? Ms. Davenport, can you hear me? Doesn't appear that she can. Let's see, I guess we'll be in recess. Ms. McLeod, you're going to need to interview him prior to.
Hello?
Ms. Davenport?
Yes?
I see that you're still on the line with me. I just wanted to let you know that you'll get notification from the solicitor's office as to when the next hearing date is for that young man. He is not going to get out of custody until he has a mental health evaluation, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't see me?
I can see you now, Ms.
Okay,
Davenport.
I'm sorry it took so long.
No, you're fine, ma'am. I understand that I'm tough with technology myself, so I just want to let you know what happened with that case, and someone from the solicitor's office will be in touch with you before the next hearing, okay?
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you have a good afternoon.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Someone's asking about a Keith Hall. I don't see a Keith Hall on our calendar.
It was a felony transfer, Your Honor, and I'm responding.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Ms.
Okay, did we have a Mr. Lewis today?
Position 9.
Position 9. He's calling me on the cell phone. I mean, he's calling me on my desk phone from the courtroom.
That's
Yes.
that's the conflict, I believe, that
That's Mr. Todd's client.
yes.
Cloud's client. Thank you. I'll tell him.
Ms. McLeod, are you with us?
Hi, this is Keith. Okay, that was a long afternoon, and then we got.
Hi, Keith. You're not on mute. There we go. Okay, I'm unmuted finally. What a mess this is.
Okay, this is Mr. Lewis.
Yes, Your Honor, this is Mr. Lewis.
And you've had the opportunity to interview him, Ms.
I
McLeod?
have, Your Honor. Yes, I have
Okay.
been able to interview him.
All right, very good. Good afternoon, Mr. Lewis. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0072358 with battery family violence. It's my understanding that this is Mr. Lewis's first arrest.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. McCockey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on the 22nd of this month. The incident location is 3824 Harbor Lakes in Fairborn. The victim in this case is Ms. Jasmine Bailey. The parties were having a verbal dispute that turned physical when the defendant snatched the victim by her shirt and slammed her onto the bed. Officers did note scratches on the victim's face and arms. The defendant admitted to officers that he made physical contact first because he was upset with the victim, Ms. Bailey. Our office has spoken with the victim, who says her and the defendant were in a relationship. They lived together at the incident location and they share no children. She confirmed the events in the warrant, said the defendant also placed his arm around her neck, holding her down, but stated that it was just for a few seconds and she was able to breathe. She says this is not the first time the defendant has been violent towards her, but it is the first time she has called the police. She says that she's afraid of the defendant when he's angry and she doesn't wish to have any contact with the defendant. She would like for him to stay away from the residence. The state's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services, that he stay away from the incident location. He can, of course, have a one-time police escort to get his belongings, no further contact with this victim, anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Jasmine Bailey.
Ms. Bailey is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. I see Jasmine's iPhone there. Ms. Bailey, you don't have to address the court, but if you would like to, this is your time. Doesn't appear so. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. It's important because my understanding is that this is my client's apartment. He's the only person on the lease. He lives there. Maybe she has some different information. But anyway, this is my client's first arrest, Your Honor. He is 31 years old. He tells me that his kidneys do not function, so he's been on dialysis for the past 5 years. So naturally, and he started to do home dialysis. Everything is set up in his apartment for that to take place. He's gainfully employed, has some college, and he does have ties to the community, Your Honor. So we definitely want a signature bond for him, but we do not want him to have to move out of his apartment. I think she's in a better position to move out than he is. This is his place.
Okay. Ms. Bailey, would you like to, I just need to know whether that is your primary residence, Ms. Bailey? Not sure if she's having problems with her.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, can you come on camera for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Can you raise your right hand for me, ma'am?
Yes.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You can place your hand down. It's my understanding that you don't want to have any further contact with Mr. Lewis. The place where you both live, do you both live there?
Yes, sir. And my children live there as well.
Okay, all right. Anything else that you want to tell the court?
No, sir.
Your Honor, may I ask her a couple
Yes.
of questions?
Yes, of course, Ms. Wow. Go
Ms.
ahead.
Bailey, whose name is on the lease?
It's his name. His name is on the lease.
Okay, your name is not on the lease, correct?
No, ma'am.
Well, I mean, she still lives there. The children are there. They've been living there, regardless of whose name is or is not on the lease. If she's been allowed to live there, I'm going to allow her to stay there if she chooses to.
I understand, Your Honor, but usually with apartments, the person whose name is on the lease is the one responsible for the rent and everything. So it is possible that if she continues to live there, she doesn't pay the rent or anything, it could affect his credit. A lot could happen.
He'll have to properly evict her, I guess then. As far as this bond hearing goes, it's gonna be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Miss Bailey. Until there's a resolution, he's to stay away from the incident location. He can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve his belongings, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you all.
He may need a little extra time, Your Honor, because just based on what he tells me about how his place is set up,
Okay.
when he goes with law enforcement, if he has to take all his machine that he uses for his dialysis and so on.
So if he needs to go back there on more than one occasion, I'll allow him to go back on 2 or 3 occasions with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings if he can't get everything the first time. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I was the one that was providing him with the home dialysis treatment. I was his nurse. So I'm no longer doing that. I've already spoke with the case manager and she said he can come back in center and she'll get everything situated so they can ship the items that he does have at home back to where they came from and he can go back in center. She's just waiting for him to get out so he can contact her and they'll get him set up back in center.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
So if you'll let him know that, Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I believe that concludes the 2 o'clock calendar. If nothing further, you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paperwork is on its way.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.